she's so fine. Helluva, blows my mind. Helluva, lights my day.
What's good, guys? This story is coming out of Smyrna, Delaware. Came out on Tuesday, April the 27th. And I'm going to start it at the beginning and take it all the way forward. Police investigate deadly shooting in Smyrna Middle School parking lot. Police in Delaware are investigating a deadly shooting that happened in the front parking lot of a middle school Tuesday morning. According to police, the shooting happened at about 10:15 a.m. at Smyrna Middle School. No students were involved in the incident. Police said the victim was a 38-year-old woman and that the shooting was domestic related. The sole suspect, a 47-year-old man, was located after a pursuit that led authorities to Maryland, police said. The suspect's car crashed into a tree and he was being treated at an area hospital. Quote, the suspect is being treated. He was airlifted from the scene and is being treated at a Maryland area hospital, end quote, said Corporal Jason Hatchell with the Delaware State Police. During a late afternoon press conference, officials with Smyrna and Delaware State Police said the shooting occurred after some type of verbal argument between the pair. While police did say the victim and suspect are related, their relationship is unclear. It is also unclear why the altercation took place at the school.
No students or staff were injured as a result of any of this. That said, we do know that the victim is a 38-year-old woman, the suspect a 47-year-old man. Why this all unfolded in the school's parking lot is one of many questions that are unfolding as this investigation begins. Chopper 6 was over Smyrna Middle School just after 10 a.m. Tuesday after reports of a shooting at the school sent authorities into action. Police arrived to the scene to find a 38-year-old woman who had been shot in the school's parking lot and later died on the scene. The school's resource officer, the first to arrive.
She immediately rendered first aid and CPR until the arrival of EMS.
The victim's body was covered up as multiple police agencies across state lines set up a dragnet to search for a suspect, their search ending in Maryland. The 47-year-old suspect now in the hospital recovering after a car crash.
The suspect is currently being treated, was airlifted from the scene and is currently being treated at a Maryland area hospital.
During a press conference late afternoon, Smyrna and Delaware State Police officials said the shooting occurred after some type of verbal argument between the pair. While police did say the duo are family, their relationship is unclear.
We are still working on ironing out exactly what their relationship is.
Also unknown, why the altercation took place at the school. Authorities were quick to dismiss rumors the victim was an employee there. As far as the school is concerned, officials said it and other schools in the area went into immediate lockdown.
We confirmed that all staff and students were safe, and in coordinating communications with local law enforcement, we learned that we were able to eventually reopen our schools internally and allow the students to resume classes.
And here's how things progressed later on this afternoon. Students here at the middle school were dismissed at the high school next door under strict supervision. Now we're told that the middle school will be closed tomorrow for regularly scheduled deep cleaning. That said, there'll still be some counseling available, and at this point there are no words on what charges that suspect may face.
The story then took a turn on Wednesday, April the 28th. Delaware State Police conducting double homicide investigation in Smyrna, Delaware. Delaware State Police are conducting a double homicide investigation that occurred Tuesday morning at two separate locations in Smyrna. On Tuesday, April the 27th, 2021 at approximately 10:26 a.m., troopers responded to assist Smyrna Police Department with a subject shot in the parking lot at Smyrna Middle School located at 700 Duck Creek Parkway, Smyrna, Delaware. Upon arrival, it was determined that a 38-year-old female victim and a 47-year-old male suspect arrived at the school together in the wife's vehicle to pick up their daughter for a medical appointment. The couple had a verbal exchange outside of the car, which led to the male suspect pulling the victim back into the vehicle, where he produced a weapon and shot the victim. The 38-year-old female victim was later pronounced deceased at the scene. The school was placed on lockdown and a search for the suspect commenced. The suspect fled the scene alone in the vehicle the couple arrived in, and then switched to another vehicle that was registered to him parked nearby. Troopers located the suspect's vehicle at approximately 11:02 a.m. in the area of Route 13 and Route 42, and a pursuit ensued. The suspect fled into Maryland and ultimately shot himself and crashed near Galena, Maryland. The suspect was transported to a Maryland area hospital where he was pronounced deceased. During the course of the investigation, troopers obtained information there could be a second victim who was an acquaintance of the 38-year-old female victim. With the assistance of Smyrna Police Department, officers responded to the 800 block of McLane Gardens in Smyrna, it's an apartment complex, to check on the welfare of a 21-year-old female. Officers located the second female victim inside of her residence with an apparent gunshot wound. The 21-year-old victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. The bodies have been turned over to the Division of Forensic Science, where an autopsy will be performed to determine the manner and cause of death. The Delaware State Police Homicide Unit and Smyrna Police Department is continuing their investigation into this suspected murder/suicide incident, and there is no concern for public safety. No motive has been established for this incident. The names of the victim and suspect are being withheld pending notification of next of kin.
Dramatic and tragic developments in the Smyrna shooting investigation. Delaware State Police are now calling it a double homicide. Good evening, I'm Steve Hammond. That is where we begin this evening at 6. Delaware State Police now say there are a total of 3 people dead in this case. A 21-year-old woman was found dead from a gunshot wound in a Smyrna neighborhood last night. That death has been connected to this investigation. And that in addition to the 38-year-old woman who was shot and killed yesterday morning, and her husband, the 47-year-old gunman who police say shot and killed himself in his car yesterday just after 11 a.m. No names have been released. Delaware State Police say that suspect and his 38-year-old wife arrived in the same car yesterday morning at Smyrna Middle to pick up their daughter for a doctor's appointment. There was a verbal argument outside the car which resulted in the husband shooting and killing his wife. He then fled Smyrna, heading west and leading state police on a high-speed chase into Maryland. Police say it was on Route 213 in Galena, about 17 miles west of Smyrna, where the suspect shot himself and crashed. He was pronounced dead at a hospital nearby. At some point during their investigation, police learned that a 21-year-old woman who was a family friend of the wife might be another victim in this case. Police went to McLane Gardens in Smyrna to check on that young woman, where they found she had been shot and killed. WBOC's Cassie Simeon joins us tonight in Smyrna, where family and friends still trying to make sense of this tragedy tonight. And Cassie, you spoke to neighbors and friends of the victims. They are stunned by the events of the last 38 hours.
Steve, members of this tight-knit community are devastated. They say that the couple lived in this apartment complex behind me, and the 21-year-old woman that was found here was the best friend of the 38-year-old woman that was also killed yesterday. And they say they had no idea what was happening until police arrived.
Completely shocking. It's completely shocking.
A neighborhood is stunned after learning neighbors and friends are gone.
The school started calling. I didn't even know it was her until the police got here.
A friend and next-door neighbor tells us she saw the 38-year-old victim yesterday morning and that they had no idea the 21-year-old victim was inside the home right next door.
I didn't hear anything, and that's hurtful, because if I would have heard something, I would have reacted. I would have tried my best to do something, you know? And that goes for all of us. Nobody heard anything. That little girl was in there all day. All day, and I was there by myself, and we heard nothing.
One woman who did not want to go on camera said the 21-year-old victim was her sister-in-law, and the 38-year-old was the godmother of her children. The neighbors tell us the pair were a loving couple, and that the 21-year-old was an innocent bystander.
I'm sure there was red flags, but they were so private, you know? Yeah. They would never bring it out here for everybody to judge them and hear them, and that wasn't them. That wasn't them at all. So the red flags, there could have been, you know, but we never seen them. All we saw was a loving couple.
According to those neighbors, the couple left behind multiple children, and this block is leaning on each other through this tragedy.
We don't have answers. We're going off of what we know and what's been told to us. which is still hard to believe because of their characters, you know?
This community left with more questions tonight than answers. Now, the timeline of this tragedy is still unclear. Police have not yet released how they became aware of that 21-year-old victim.
Today, Delaware State Police released the identities of the two victims and suspect in Tuesday's double homicide. The victim involved at Smyrna Middle School has been identified as 38-year-old Stephanie Gill. The victim involved at McLane Gardens has been identified as 21-year-old Deanna Dominick-Dalton. Police say the suspect was Llewellyn Gill, and the incident was still under investigation earlier today. Anyone with information regarding this incident is asked to contact Sergeant Yeach with the Delaware State Police Homicide Unit by calling 302-741-2703, or information may also be provided by calling Delaware Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIP-3333. This was just one bizarre story, and it took a million different twists and turns. So to sum it all up, Tuesday around 10:30ish, both Stephanie Gill and her husband Llewellyn Gill were riding in her car and went to the school to pick up their daughter for a medical appointment. It doesn't sound like the daughter ever checked out or came outside of the school. They got into an altercation, a verbal altercation, outside of the vehicle. He reached inside the vehicle, got a weapon, and shot her. She died on the scene. Apparently, they had maybe met somewhere and got in her vehicle. So he drove back in her vehicle to his vehicle, which was parked somewhere close by, got in his vehicle, led troopers on a high-speed chase. He ended up shooting himself while in the high-speed chase, which then caused him to have a wreck, and he did not make it. I don't know how they tracked it down to the best friend, the 21-year-old, but it just said something to the effect of, due to information they had learned during their investigation, and they found out about Stephanie Gill, had been best friends with this lady. So they went to her apartment, and that's where they found her inside. So, I mean, just terrible. She was just an innocent bystander in all of this. Had nothing to do with anything. I'm going to end this story on that note, but I did want to bring this story to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. What's good, guys?